So a warm welcome to those of you in church and those of you watching online for our reflection this afternoon, looking for meaning and purpose. My name is Ben Almond and I am a member of the ministry team here in St. Peter Mancroft Church. On Fridays, we look at an issue which is pertinent to our world, broadcasting from our Earth Chapel. Now, some of you may remember a reflection which I gave a couple of weeks ago on exploration and the importance, for the sake of human flourishing, to seek those opportunities for adventure and discovery. And today I want to talk on the related but different theme of travel, not as previously discussed, always to new and undiscovered places in the vast wilderness of the earth, but to places known to others, where we can immerse ourselves in environments with different cultures, different clothing, different food and languages, among other things. I think it's the ambition of many children, and certainly was when I was a child, to go into space. I can remember sitting outside on quite a clear night, staring up at the stars and wondering what it would be like to travel out beyond our Earth. Staring at the moon through a telescope and binoculars gave way to thoughts of awe, thinking about what it must have been like for the human beings who have stepped foot on its surface and looked over at the Earth from afar. But closer to Earth, I began to build up a preliminary list of the places which at some point I would value the time to go and visit. I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to see the Great Wall of China, to walk along its stone platform and imagine what it would be like to spend time on guard, looking out for people coming down from the north. And then I wondered what it would be like to walk through a Middle Eastern market, similar perhaps in structure to our own, but displaying a vastly different array of produce, from food to textiles. And then moving further east, perhaps to see a pre-COVID Brazilian carnival take place with all its music and colour and pomp. And with the changes in modern science and technology, these places are now far easier to visit and access than ever before. Now let's look at some numbers for a second, because I really do think that this is fascinating to examine. According to the United Nations World Trade Organization, in 1950, there were 25 million tourist arrivals annually. In 2018, by contrast, this had increased to 1.4 billion annual arrivals, a 56-fold increase. And whereas in the past a great percentage of this was constituted by those in Europe and North America, the percentage from other parts of the Americas, and particularly looking at those currently living in East Asia, has risen substantially. As recently as 1975, 75% of tourists were European, compared with only 50% in 2018. Whilst during the same period of time, the number of people from Asia and the Pacific rose from just under 2% to 24%. And what accounts for this recent increase? Undoubtedly, wealth is a key factor in all of this, but it is also about our interconnectedness and ability to travel. A journey to Singapore from London, say, takes less than a day now, compared with what would have been weeks or months of voyage by sea in times past. And what does this all mean? What does this all mean for us today? Well, for one thing, it means crossover and cultural exchange on a scale in which we have never before seen. I can get news channels from across the world in several countries broadcast live on my computer screen or for free on YouTube. You can, as I know many have, link up with people from all across the world in the world of online gaming and make friendships with people whom you have never actually met in person. Our universities are now full of a diverse range of students from across different countries and continents. Certainly when I was at university, a little over a year ago now, I counted among my friends people from Africa, the USA, Australia, China, Russia, Slovakia, Hungary, among many other places. These students brought unique knowledge and experience that was interest and had value to others. And particularly when I read history, it was really interesting to see the different perspectives on events that had happened in the past and how they had themselves been taught it within their schools was often very differently to my experience of having it being told in my own. One of the weaknesses that we in the modern world are often accused of is of being too rigidly centered in our own bubbles, not open to outside thought or interaction with those in groups with different minds and perspectives. But I can't say I'm too convinced of this. To some extent, this has always been the case. But if you were to take someone in Norwich at random in 2020 and compare them with someone at random in 1820 or 1920, my guess is that they would know far more about the wider world outside of the UK than people in generations before them. And what information they do have about countries and cultures overseas may well be less informed by what they read in newspapers and magazines, and more out of informed personal experience, from either having themselves travelled there or have known people personally from different places as colleagues and friends. Though in the present days of COVID-19, travel limitations are very strong. Cultural exchange of all sorts is far from ceased. And I think that can only be considered a good thing, that we are now far more interconnected online than ever before. The Earth Chapel, where we are recording this reflection this afternoon, is a useful reminder that there are more people and places, vastly more people and places, than that lie beyond ourselves. And so as we travel around in a limited way in person and sometimes a bit online, I would encourage all of us to engage with people and cultures that seem quite different. There is a common humanity to all of us, and many Christians would certainly value the sacred nature of every human being in believing that we are all made in God's image. Perhaps this is not such a bad way to think about our fellow human beings in this and every age. Thank you.